Hello, my name is Kay McDonald, and welcome to the Charity Charms podcast and interview series. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Skye Steele, and she's the executive director of Streetlight. Skye, you and I have worked on several projects together over the last 5 years, and what you do is such a huge service in the community and the world. Can you tell us what you're doing at Streetlight and what the impact is that you're making?
So thank you so much, Kay, for having me. It really is an honor to be here with you today. I really cherish our relationship and our partnership. So thank you. Streetlight USA was founded in 2009, and Streetlight exists to serve children who are either confirmed as victims of sex trafficking or who have risk factors for being trafficked. To date, we have served over 1,400 girls between the ages of 11 and 17 who are confirmed victims of trafficking or who had risk factors for being trafficked.
And do you service, it's not just Arizona, right? Girls can come from all over the country to your center. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have two different programs on one campus at Streetlight. Our Lighted Path program is our licensed group home, and that program services mainly children who are in the Department of Child Safety custody. So DCS will identify when a child has been trafficked or has risk factors and has unfortunately has significant trauma. They will then refer the child to Streetlight. Probably 95% of the kids in our group home are Arizona kids. Our second program is a licensed level 2 behavioral health residential facility, and its focus is on trauma healing. The girls in that program stay 90 to 120 days, and we've taken kids from all over the nation. We've had girls come from Texas, from Utah, from Florida. So we are accepting referrals from all 50 states for our level 2 trauma healing program.
Your whole center and your program is very progressive, I know, in the country, and you have a background in we have a bachelor's degree in psychology. Is that correct? So this has kind of been a passion of yours, and now you're actually able to take that passion and that degree and that experience and really make a difference in the world.
Thank you.
So I love to see people living their passion. You've been with Streetlight now for, let's see, since 2017, right?
That's correct, yes.
But before that, you were with the Dream Center. Tell us about the program that you set up at the Dream Center and a little bit about the Dream Center.
Yeah, so back in 2009, I launched the human trafficking program at the Phoenix Dream Center. In 2008, I was over their missions department, and Pastor Tommy Barnett, he is the founder of the Phoenix Dream Center. He came to my husband and I. My husband is the executive director of the Phoenix Dream Center, and he had really woken up to the fact that children and young women were being trafficked in the state of Arizona. We had rooms at the Phoenix Dream Center to be able to develop a program to meet the needs of children and young women who were victims of sex trafficking. And Pastor Tommy said, "Can we do this?" And I said, "Absolutely." It was on my heart. I really believe that part of God's plan for my life was to and is to help save and rescue these kids and these young women. So that program launched in 2009. We served minors until 2013. Now we focus specifically on the young women and young men at the Phoenix Dream Center who are victims of sex trafficking or who have risk factors for trafficking. So the Phoenix Dream Center's program is really unique. They have a medical center on campus. They have an education center on campus. They have a chapel. So everything that the kids, I say kids, the young adults need when they come into the program, they have right there at the Phoenix Dream Center in a community.
That's such an amazing service for our community and the world. And when you mention young men, I don't think people normally think that young men also are victims, but that's very, very interesting. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, what's really sad and unfortunate is the number of boys and young men that are trafficked goes largely underreported for several reasons. And so there, to my knowledge, there are no programs in the United States who service minors or young men who are victims of trafficking other than the Phoenix Dream Center. There was one program in North Carolina called the Anchor House that closed last year. But the Phoenix Dream Center has been working really closely with Homeland Security to help identify young men who have been victims of trafficking. And their young men's program is always full. It's one of the only places for these young men to go to get help. And so we know that boys and young men are trafficked as well, but it seems that it takes more for them to come forward and to talk about the victimization than it does the young women. So they have a very specialized, tailored program for the young men at the Phoenix Dream Center.
Wow. How long has Brian been involved in the center and working in this arena as well, your husband?
Yeah, so Brian has been at the Phoenix Dream Center since 2006. In 2008, he took over as the executive director of the Phoenix Dream Center, and I was over the clinical services program at the Dream Center prior to going over to Streetlight and taking over that program there. It was so funny. The first time we went out on outreach, we had designed an outreach back in 2009 to reach the young women and the kids who were being trafficked. And we all sat down with my outreach team, and my husband, he was in the meeting, and our pastor said, okay, so are you going to drive the van? And my husband looked at all of us and said, well, I'm not going. You know, this is my wife's ministry. Well, of course he went. And then years later, he is now known as one of the pastors who has made a difference in the sex trafficking industry. And so, you know, you just have to be at the right place at the right time and have a heart and a desire to make a difference in people's lives. And my husband is one of those people.
Sometimes things that are not planned actually end up making your life completely different, or pivoting in a way that you didn't expect. So, you know, we're having this interview in 2021, and we've just come off a really difficult year, and it's still difficult right now. Tell me what additional challenges you have faced with sex trafficking with this whole pandemic.
Yeah, so back in March of 2020, the number of referrals that we were getting went from maybe 2 or 3 to 3 a day to 8 or 9 a day.
Oh my gosh.
Our referrals skyrocketed. So we saw a huge increase in sex trafficking here locally in the city of Phoenix from March until October of 2020. Now, there is a group called the Maricopa County Sex Trafficking Collaborative, and the Maricopa County Sex Trafficking Collaborative serves young children who are victims of trafficking. So they tracked the data from March of 2020 to October of 2020. Okay, we saw a 29% increase in trafficking from March to October of 2020 in Maricopa County.
What is that attributed to?
So what we were seeing is an increase of online trafficking. So 3 things that we believe contributed to it is kids were online more. And when kids are more vulnerable, it really opened the door for traffickers to be more crafty and to lure them in a different way. Something else, parents were not supervising as much, whether that was because they themselves had to, you know, wear 5 different hats and were working more at home, or were working more outside of the home. The kids were online more. And so when everything shut down and children were not able to connect with friends and family, they really had this desire to connect with the outside world. That is the 3rd reason why we believe we saw an increase in trafficking during that time. You know, the girls at Streetlight, when everything shut down, they couldn't see their parents, they couldn't see their friends, all of their visits stopped, they couldn't go on outings, and they felt very stuck on campus. And so we saw an increase in behaviors as well, just because everyone felt very vulnerable and felt stuck during that time. So yes, there was a large increase in online trafficking. There has been during the COVID pandemic.
Well, that certainly makes sense. I mean, myself included, and most people I know, we all have felt stuck, and we've all been online a lot more. And boy, you can
Yes,
certainly see when you think your child is taking a lesson, a school lesson, and they're diverting off to all these different things. It's a very scary world out there. But
it
it's
is.
interesting. There have been so many additional things that have happened in the world because of the pandemic that you just don't even think about. But the fact
Yes,
that there's been all that increase, it's just unnerving.
yes, it is. It's very, very unfortunate.
Mhm. Are there any measures that you're taking as a nonprofit in your organization to combat that? Or is there anything that the public should know or that they can do as well to help?
We believe that the answer truly lies with prevention and education.
Mhm.
So, one area that has been a challenge for those of us who are in the anti trafficking movement to get into is the school system.
Mm.
So, our goal for this next 12 months is to develop a relationship with different school districts and go in and really focus on educating the kids and the parents on what does trafficking look like, and unfortunately these traffickers will befriend a young boy or a young girl and use them to lure in vulnerable children so they can be trafficked. Kids in the foster care system have a huge vulnerability,
Wow.
and traffickers know that. So we do see kids being trafficked in different group homes,
Mhm.
and so much of it is starting online. And so we do believe that prevention, education, and awareness is the next step to really get the community involved and to alert parents and children on what they need to look for in order to prevent their child or loved one from falling victim to commercial sexual exploitation.
Well, it sounds like you've got a huge job ahead of you. Not only do you have the center where you bring the girls in and give them a refuge and help rehabilitate them and everything. Now you have this whole thing of really getting awareness out. I would think that that would be one of the biggest aspects because I don't know, but I would think that the world needs to know a lot more about what's happening, and that's a huge job for you, isn't it?
It is, but it it really takes a team of people that have a heart and a passion for this work, and everyone who wants to make a difference can. And so one thing that I love to do is I love to connect people with their passion, and are in the process of forging a relationship with Love 146. There is a curriculum out there called Not a Number, and Not a Number focuses on education and awareness. I am sending two of my staff members to Texas in a couple of weeks to be trained on the Not a Number curriculum. And
Mm.
so as girls come into Streetlight, we are going to facilitate the Not a Number curriculum with our girls, but then we're also going to be taking that Not a Number curriculum into the schools. And really, honestly, Kate, anywhere that anyone will let us talk about it, we are going to go to where we can to alert the public as well as educate them on how to prevent human trafficking.
Yeah, it's evangelism at its finest,
It
truly.
is.
And I also know about you. One of the things that is really one of your strengths, I think, is you are a great connector. You love collaborations with businesses and groups and other people. Are there any? Well, this is a new collaboration that you're just talking about. So this is a perfect example of the things that you seek out that might be a little bit different than a standard nonprofit. Are there any, I'm sorry, tell us more about that because that's your strength.
Yes, I learned early on that in order for us to truly make a difference in the life of a child or a young woman who has been trafficked, we have got to get the right people at the table. So we have an amazing partnership with the Attorney General's office, with the Maricopa County Sex Trafficking Collaborative, with the Governor's office, with the McCain Institute. And these are really organizations that have decided to do something about ending sex trafficking in our community. And so it's through these partnerships and these longstanding relationships that we're able to make a difference. So every year, my goal is to bring two more organizations or ministries to to the table so we can continue to, it's kind of like an octopus, as we have all of our tentacles, all of our arms, and we want to reach out into the community and into schools and different organizations so people are aware. I sometimes am still surprised at how many individuals in our community are just not aware of what is going on with sex trafficking. But you don't know what you don't know. And so yes, and so that is something we really are proud of, is the relationships that we have developed with individuals, with organizations, with churches, and with ministries. And we are going to do more in the year ahead.
Yeah, well, what you're doing it's such an important service, and we all need more awareness about what your needs are as well. I'm sure that people listening to this are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that it was that bad, or that, we live in our own little world and people just don't realize. What can people that are listening do to help you increase your outreach, increase awareness, support you?
Yes. So, I know that people really care about the girls. They have a huge heart for the girls and for everything that they're going through. One thing that always brings a smile to the girls' faces is a love letter of encouragement. So if anyone is listening to this, please do write a love letter of encouragement to the girls at Streetlight, letting them know that they're not forgotten, that they have a future, that God has a plan for their life. Whatever it is specifically that you can say to our children to get them through tomorrow is vitally important. And those can be mailed to our P.O. box at Streetlight. Another thing, if you have an interest in volunteering at Streetlight, we are in need of service projects. We do have several renovations going on right now. We have a partnership with our Operation Underground Railroad, and they are funding the remodel of 2 of our cottages, one for our behavioral health program and one for our group home. Those cottages are going to expand our program by 10 more beds, and we're going to be opening those at the end of this year. So we are in need of painters. If anyone has an interest in designing bathrooms or has an interest in laying tile, things of that nature, service projects are huge, but also taking care of our grounds. We have a 4-acre campus and we have 1 maintenance gentleman. And so we are always in need of support with people and churches coming alongside of us to care for the grass and things like that. Also, the girls, if someone has a desire of connecting with the girls, we do have a pretty rigorous process that someone has to go through in order to volunteer with our girls. But things like doing an arts and crafts group, baking group, teaching them a specific skill, those things are really important to our organization and to our staff and the girls at Streetlight.
I think that's wonderful. So you really can use volunteer help from all different sectors, men, women, anybody with skill. Yeah. I noticed online you have an everyday needs wish. I'll hold this up here. Yes. Neck pillows. I thought there were some interesting things on here. Neck pillows, white t-shirts. Why white t-shirts?
So the girls, a lot of times they do arts and crafts and painting on the weekends, and they use those, they go through them like nobody's business. So those white t-shirts are used a lot during our arts and crafts groups on the weekends, but also yes, but also in the afternoon, sometimes ASU Fitness comes and they do groups with the girls. And so those are the 2 main reasons why we're asking for white t-shirts: arts and crafts and exercise.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I love the arts, and I see you always need art supplies as well.
We do.
Let's talk about fundraising, where you guys are a nonprofit. Where, and I know you probably get funds from lots of private donors. Do you get any government funding?
We do. So for our group home, we do have a contract with the Department of Child Safety. So 30% of the revenue that comes into Streetlight's group home does come from DCS. The other 70% comes from individual donations, churches, and grants. Our behavioral health program, about 40% of the revenue that comes into that program comes from payers, insurance. The other 60% is raised by my my development team and myself. And that's, again, individual donations, grants, as well as churches that are supporting both programs. We literally could not do what we're doing, Kay, without the support of the community. We heavily rely on support from individuals and organizations to do the work that we're doing.
Well, I want to mention too, you guys do really beautiful events. We've been very fortunate to make a few items here. I'm just going to hold up
Yes.
our latest co-venture together. This is a beautiful bracelet that we did for you. And it was
Yes.
for making a difference, 100 women, 100 years of
Yes.
women making a difference. And that was kind of a challenge because it was done during COVID. And I know that events, charities have taken quite a hit. Tell us how COVID has affected you, and what you see for the future and how we're going to get out of this and keep getting stronger.
Yes. So I'll be honest, back in March and April and May of 2020, I was very scared. I honestly did not know what we were going to do. Our individual donations decreased dramatically just in March and April. We had $100,000 loss last year.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. But I will say that over the summer, the community truly did rally. Individuals, churches, they rallied around our organization and our girls, and they gave in a way that I have not seen in a long, long time. I was surprised at how amazingly supportive the community was. But God answers our prayers. And so he provided, he moved on people's hearts, and they gave generously. So I'm happy to say that we are out of that scary season, and our fundraising goals are finally back to where we're able to meet them. In terms of how we're going to come out of this, and so, thankfully, we're seeing numbers with COVID-19 decrease.
Yes.
But we have not seen the numbers of children being trafficked decrease. Those numbers are increasing. And so it's truly a matter of, we have got to develop more programs locally and nationally to meet the need of these kids. At Streetlight, we have 34 beds. 15 of those beds are for the group home. 15 of those beds are for behavioral health. 4 of those beds are for children who age out of the program. Mm-hmm. The Maricopa County Sex Trafficking Collaborative tells me that if I don't have a bed available, there is no place to send these kids. And they get dozens over, I believe in 2020, they had maybe 100 referrals. And so we've got to collaborate with other organizations so they can be trained on trauma-informed care, mm-hmm. so they can be trained on how to meet the needs of kids who are victims of trafficking, so we can expand our reach.
Right.
That really truly is the key. It's about expanding our reach, prevention, and awareness, so we can make a difference in the lives of children who have been trafficked. Because when children are trafficked, the family is destroyed. Parents and loved ones are just completely devastated. So it's not all just about restoring the life of a trafficked individual. While that's absolutely what we're doing, it's about restoring the family. Yeah. Restoring the family unit, restoring their hope, restoring, just the fact that they feel safe. And so we have our work cut out of us. But I will tell you, the number of people in the city of Phoenix and in the state of Arizona who are committed to this cause increases every day. So there is hope. There is absolutely hope for children who have been trafficked and their families.
Well, thank goodness you're obviously doing a good job getting the outreach out there and the awareness and letting people know about it. One of the things I like to ask the people that I work with is, I think symbols are really important in people's lives. That's kind of how I got into the charm business, because I think, wearable symbols and things like that. Do you have a defining symbol that you would like, something that you like to wear, or something that means something to you?
So what really defines my life is my faith. And I would say my defining symbol is the cross. You know, I have worked with hundreds of young women who are victims of trafficking, and every single one of them told me that the reason they survived was because of God.
Mm.
And so their relationship with God is something that's so precious and important. And I absolutely can relate to that. So my defining symbol would be the cross.
Well, that absolutely makes sense. It
Yeah.
has a lot of meaning to me as well. And yeah, I think it's important to have something like that to wear too, to, you know, to remind you every day that you do have God's love and God's support.
Yes. He's with us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What else have we not covered that you would like people to know about what you're doing? Is there something personal in your life that you want to share with us? Like I was like, Skye, I know you, but like, do you have kids? You
Yes,
have a
I
son.
do. We have a 6-year-old. His name is Levi. He's just the light of our lives.
Aw.
He's the only child, so he's very spoiled, you know. And I will say this, Kay. So I, of course, have always worked with women and children, mainly girls, who
Mhm.
are victims of trafficking. I did not, I'll admit, I did not necessarily think about the boys
Mm.
until I had a boy. You know, when I look at him, something just changed for me and my husband.
Oh.
And we knew we had to do something to help these boys, whether they're 6 or 10 or 20. And so our son was really what made us decide we have to do something to help trafficked boys. And so that was the catalyst in developing the young men's program at the Phoenix Dream Center, was our son. As a community, as a nation, for some reason, we forget about men, and men need help. They need help just as badly as women. You know, men who undergo trauma and who are victimized,
Mm.
they need somebody to stick their arms out and say, I'm going to help you. And so the Phoenix Dream Center has decided to be that organization to come alongside of young men and walk them through their trauma. So I would say that the thing that really helped to change me and my husband and really shape that next program was our son. So that's the personal thing that I would
I
share with you
I
today.
love that. I love that. And well, I think what you mentioned earlier too is that men are too proud or are not used to reaching out. And so they don't feel that they can do that. So just by, again, expanding this awareness, look at the gift that your son has been in your life, besides just being your wonderful son, but what he's awakened in both of you. And now the mission and the passion of what you're doing, you're just living it every day, and you're making such an impact in the world. And I feel very, very lucky to know you and to work with both of you. And I just want to thank you so much for what you're doing. And I want everybody that's listening here to be able to learn more. And if you want to volunteer or get involved, it is the StreetLightUSA.org is the website. And then also the Dream Center as well, too, if they're interested. So is that dreamcenter.org?
It's phxdreamcenter.org.
Okay, phoenixdreamcenter.org. Okay. Well, thank you again for your time. Thank you for sharing all of this information. And thank you for all that you do in the world, Skye. I've really enjoyed our time together.
Thank you so much, Kay, for having me. It's been an honor to be with you this morning. Thank you.
And I look forward to more fun, more events,
Yes,
and
yes,
having everybody learn more about you. And
yes,
make
I'm
it happen.
excited.
Okay,
Wonderful. Thank you,
great.
Kay. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.